What's up, guys?
How are you?
Nicole, Andy, Tammy.
Yes, Patrick over in dlive.
Uh-oh.
What?
I gotta mute my...
Oh,
I got it.
you didn't mute it? Mute it? Mute it.
No, I did not mute it.
You did not mute it.
No, it didn't need muted. It needed muted.
How you guys doing? What's going on this Thursday?
This wet Thursday.
Yes, I know. Pop out this chat. Get this ball rolling. Maybe? What the hell's going on? Everything just disappeared on me.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about me.
You know, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Okay, that's over there. Let me get everything up and running again. So what's going on, guys? How you doing?
It's the third time you asked him that.
Shut up.
I was just saying.
Okay. I think we're live.
No, it says we're live.
Okay.
That don't mean anything.
That's true. That is true.
That ain't bad. Only a minute and a half in, and I just got a notification that you're live.
Hey, not bad at all. Not bad at all. There we go. All right. Yep, we are live.
Hey,
Hello, Heather. My honey was nice to me today. Bought me my caramel mocha. What is it? Frappe?
Frappe, yeah.
Yeah. So we're good.
That's only so she didn't bitch at me.
What? I never bitch at you. Never, ever. Of course, Eddie's got his drink.
Hey, not bad. First in 3 days.
Yeah, I know, right, Andy? Did you see Andy get Eddie to push the go live button for you, Missy? He gets it right a good 20% of the time.
Bullshit, about 35%.
I know. Every time he tries to start his show, I hear him talking, and he's like, "Uh-oh."
Hey, I remember this past weekend.
Mm-hmm. Sure. With Andy telling you, "Hey,
No,
we're not live."
No.
Are you feeling better, Andy? I hope so. You're the best around. Yes, Eddie's got his frappe met drink. That's right.
Yeah, I got to cut way back.
That he does. Get it all, under control. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Andy. That sucks. It's hard when your neck messes with you. That's crazy, yeah. Nicole's got her whipped cream with her coffee. I have whipped cream in mine.
I'm telling you, if I wind up in the hospital today, somebody's getting in trouble.
It's not going to be me.
No, it's going to be the damn doctor.
Yeah, she didn't write the script right.
So I'm still waiting on my heart medication. Because now the pharmacist got to get a hold of the doctor to clarify the script. And God only knows how long that'll be.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Hopefully not that long. You got more whipped cream than coffee? Hey, that sounds about right. Well, you can, if you need to gain some pounds, Nicole, you can take some of mine, believe me. I don't mind sharing. Got a smashed disc at the C67. When asked the doctors for help, they advised, just keep doing what you're doing. Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Yours is what, L3 and 4?
No, it's C3 and 4.
No, yours was L, wasn't
L
it?
is down at the bottom. C is up at top.
Either way.
Yeah, my CR3 4. That's why I have problems with my arms and my. I mean, the doctor that I had was awesome. Because I couldn't figure out what would happen was my arm would go numb, and then it had the tingling, and then it would hurt like not. It was a dull ache, but it was just not a sharp ache. It was a dull ache, but it hurt so bad. Hey, G Smoke.
What's up, G Smoke?
And it would keep repeating that to where I couldn't find relief. I couldn't get my arm to, as weird as it sounds, I couldn't relax it, basically. And because of my fingers going numb and everything, she's like, "Oh, that sounds spine. That sounds like spine." Because I went in the emergency room thinking I had a pinched nerve in the back of my shoulder, but that wasn't it.
No, her seat 3 and 4. You know how the nerves run up through the bone? Well, her 3 and 4 is literally deteriorating and just crushing in on the nerve.
Yeah. So I had to take some meds to basically, how she explained it to me is it's going to tell your body, basically, yes, we know there's something wrong. You don't have to shout it out. Thank you, Heather, for the lemons. Oh, see, neck was fine until I said the wrong thing, and Nicole whelped me. Tammy, that sounds good. She said, I don't do coffee. I do Red Bull drinks with strawberry watermelon whipped cream. That sounds, I don't know, that sounds like really good. I can't do the Red Bull drinks that much anymore. I started doing them a lot. And
I went broke.
yeah, no. No, it was bad. My GERD started acting up. It was bad.
I think we're just going to start an invalid group.
Right?
I got you all beat right at the moment.
Yeah, remember, Nicole, when you decked him? Oh, half and half and whipped cream. Okay. I don't know if I could do. I don't know. I'd be willing to try.
Basically, add a little sugar to it. You're going to have freaking whipped cream anyway to whip it up hard enough.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, the only problem with my condition is I have no warning signs. It just
what the fart?
It just hits me.
Yeah, that's the scary part. Is that he feels fine up until it happens. But so today, of course, being Thursday, is Legends and Lores. Yeah, so I found some creepy stories and thought I'd share them with you. Yeah, I know, that's what I'm scared of. See, once they're the bomb, and once you try them, you can't stop. That's what happened with the whole frappe thing. It's funny because my son, Mr. Minkster, I used to yell at him for drinking Red Bulls. And then I used to yell at the guys here for drinking Monsters. Then I started drinking Monster and Pepsi together. And then I went to Red Bulls, my Rainbow Red Bull drink that I get from the store. And then Ryan, my son, he sat there and was like, "Oh, I drink these caramel chocolate like frappes or something," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" And then I got hooked on them. I'm like, "See, I got to stop listening to people and what they drink, because I'm the type that I drink that, and I'm like, can't stop. I'm like, need one."
Hi, Tammy.
Tammy's been here.
I know, but she said hi to me.
Yes, she did. Okay, never mind. I'm like, is there another one that came in? Nicole says, I have a conjoined nerve on a rare spot. Need spare parts for my back.
I think we're all getting to that age. We all need spare parts.
Hey, Simon.
How's it going, Simon?
Oh, geez, Nicole. She says, I still have one bottle of beer that I wanted to drink at New Year's in 2019.
I'm an alcoholic, but I don't even think I could crack that open and drink it.
Andy, stick to full milk, Missy. A few glugs and you won't want another mouthful. That's true, I'm sure. I don't even want the first mouthful. Oh, man. Yeah, I don't. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Simon. That sucks. Definitely. All right. With that being said, shall we get into it? Shall we? Or is there something else you want to talk about? Eddie?
Missy?
Is there something else you'd like to add or anything? That's good. Well, that happens, Simon. That happens, Believe me. Oh, ask anybody here. Anything goes wrong, it's Missy. You guys see it. That's what Eddie does.
What?
It's Missy's fault.
Of course.
Yeah. It carries on to my workplace as well.
Simon, that's me at work every night. I get yelled at for something I didn't do.
Yeah. Andy, that's being called married. Into what? Into our stories, Heather.
Yeah, she's ready to jump into the whipped cream.
Yeah, right? All right, so the term Earth Mysteries covers a wide variety of interest in antiquity, ranging from the simple fascination that ancient sacred places can provoke us into supposed rediscovery of the knowledge of the ancients. Throughout our history, humans have been captivated by unexplained mysteries, mythic beasts, and legendary creatures.
Hey, Shrimp Shack.
Hey, Shrimp Shack! Tales of Bigfoot, the Yeti, and Loch Ness Monster. The ladies in white that we hear around the world. And UFOs and aliens are all part of our collective experiences. They conclude with an analysis of psychology behind the persistent belief in paranormal phenomenon, identifying the major players in cryptozoology, paranormal, UFOs, and discussing the character of the subculture and considering the challenges it poses to clear and critical thinking in our increasingly complex world. So to add some more fun of hearing strange stories, let's go ahead and get into it.
I thought we already were.
Shut up. Starts out with Steve was a normal, rugged boy at the age of 12, an outdoorsman in the making. Like the other boys that lived in his country setting, he divided the time he had left over from school and chores with hobbies and adventures. The thrill of adventure had stirred Steve's young heart with that of exploration. He certainly was born in the right place to fulfill his quest for adventure, for he was surrounded by miles of wilderness, with strong flowing streams that cut deep crevices into the ancient Allegheny Mountains.
Hey, leave my Allegheny Mountains out of this.
Well, this is a story from Western PA, so...
Well, that's where the Allegheny Mountains are.
I know. There are many abandoned settlements dotting the overgrown landscape. The land lost to Indian was an era lost to time. Or to the... Thank you for the ice cream, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
Or to the Great Depression, when the poor farmers moved to urban areas to fend for their families as the local economy grounded to a halt. One of the many ancient ruins that he came across on his adventures, nothing gave him such a distinct, unsettling feeling as coming across in an abandoned, dilapidated graveyard in the middle of the forest. With no visible houses or signs of habitation in the area, these forgotten villages of the dead gave on the impression that something terribly wrong must have happened for someone to totally forsake their ancestors, as these ones had. Did something unspeakable happen that drove them from this place, making those here basically leave or dishonor their dead? Was the land cursed? Though Steve would never know for sure the reason, the feeling of dread and despair always accompanied it coming up upon such sights. On one occasion, he encountered more than just a nameless fear that covered this area like a shroud of darkness. One time, he was sure he met the darkness itself in physical form. It was late afternoon one hot summer when Steve and his best friend Randy came across a strange sight while exploring a local creek. It looked as if the shale had exploded in the creek bed. From a distance, they saw large pieces of rock standing upright on the shore and other similar sized pieces scattered in piles nearby. But as they drew closer even, they could see that it was not the thick shale from the creek that protruded from and littered the ground that edged the creek. They were headstones. The names and letterings were almost completely obliterated after years of exposure to the elements. Gray-green mold covered most of the markers, which gave an odd texture to the few stylized features that were still visible on the surface. But the thing that disturbed Steve and Randy most was the oddity of having a graveyard placed on the shore of a creek. It seems like a very odd and a little unlikely place to bury the dead. The boys thoroughly examined every stone, looking for a name, but the letters were just too worn to be noticed. It was then that they had this distinct feeling that they were being watched. Steve knew the feeling well, having spent many hours hunting in the woods. It was instinctual, but training made one rely upon and enhance that instinct. And he knew there was something off to the right watching them. He nonchalantly turned, still keeping his eye on the ground. Then, without raising his head, he looked up in the wooded area, in a wooded embankment, where he felt the eyes upon him. And he saw it. It was staring back at him. Behind some foliage, there crouched a hideous humanoid figure. From what he recalls, it was dressed in literal rags. The shirt and pants were torn and filthy, and much that the original color could not be truly known. The body was unnatural. It was hunched over. You had the sense that this was its natural posture. A misshapen body that tried to look like human but failed on a basic level. But it was the head that was the truly frightening thing. Like the body, it was like someone who had never seen a human being before had tried to make one out of a few mangled pieces.
Hi, Cassie.
Hey, Cassie! The head was large and bulbous in a way that only one can call squash-like. The eyes were oddly set and protruding from their sockets like they were made too large for the skull that held them. The creature's grayish skin was covered in lesions and boils from which a shiny, ichor leaked, drenching the flesh. They stood there, staring at each other for what seemed like hours, eye to eye, measuring the other. The only movement was the lurching of the thing's body as it breathed. Then, as Randy turned and saw the monstrosity stalking them, he let a high-pitched shriek, and the creature disappeared.
Sissy.
It did not run, didn't run away. Steve and Randy had kept their eyes on it the whole time. It simply just faded away as it never existed. The two boys stood there stunned, wondering if they just hallucinated the whole thing. but a quick examination of the area where the being had stood showed that there had been something physically there. The ground was disturbed, and there was vague footprints in the mud. They quickly halted their investigation and made haste in returning home. They never returned there. They were too afraid of what they might encounter again. So, what was the spectral image that Steve and Randy saw when they were young boys? Was it an apparition of dishonored dead, buried haphazardly in the side of a creek in the middle of nowhere? Was it a hallucination after a long hike in spooky setting which played with the young boys' minds?
Hi, Amanda.
Hey, Amanda! Or was it something else? What do you guys think?
They were murdered.
What, the hideous creature thing?
Yep.
You think it was a manifestation of being murdered?
Yep. Especially if you're talking about the Allegheny Mountains up in that area.
Right. Well, it kind of reminded me of melon heads.
Well, back in the
Did you guys ever have stories of melon heads in Western PA? Honey?
Well, you said you guys, so I didn't think you was talking to me.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I meant you guys as in PA guys.
Would you ask now?
Did you have stories of melon heads back in the day?
Well, if we did, I don't remember. I mean,
Okay.
You're talking about stuff like this happening with the Allegheny Mountains were occupied well back in the early 1900s, late 1800s, and a lot of them were just woods people. They didn't, they survived off the land, kind of like here in Alaska, like bush people.
Hey, Danielle. Right, yeah.
That's kind of what it was like back then.
Gotcha.
Hey, Bug. No, Amanda, we're actually just getting started.
Yeah, that was the first story. But, did you grow up, I mean, besides the one, that you always tell me about, but the ghost stories and that, did you guys have, were there things in the woods type of stories?
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially when we got around Axe Murder Hollow and that.
Right.
You'd go so far and you'd stop because you could hear cracking of branches and shit. And you turn to look in that direction, and you could swear to God you seen something move. But then you stand there for a minute, you don't see anything, you don't hear anything, so you keep going further in.
Right.
Until you start seeing eyes. And that's when you turn around and go the other direction.
Right. You're like, I'm out.
Well, now it just became a foot race to the car.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of what it sounds like with these guys, when they saw the actual footprints. Because, you're wondering, did I really see that? You know what I mean? And, of course, standing there staring at it, it seems like forever when you see something like that, right?
Yeah, and it happens in a matter of seconds, though.
Right, exactly. But to go back to where that thing was standing and see footprints and impressions and that, yeah, I probably would have hightailed it out of there.
Danielle says packing sucks.
I know, honey. I know.
But yeah, the Allegheny Mountains, I mean, we used to go up there maybe once every 3 months. We'd fish the Allegheny River. But you never went too, and that's one river you never wanted to get close to.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'd sit around and tell stories around a campfire, and that whether they were true or not, you wouldn't know.
Right. Yeah. Just legends. Yeah.
It was true enough that when you were a kid, it scared the shit out of you.
You mean other than sleeping 10 feet away from a couple coyotes? You know what? The thing of it is I always used to be scared of coyotes. But you really don't hear of them. Wolves you do, but you don't hear of them attacking people. Do you know what I mean?
Now, coyotes are more
curious.
Yeah.
Andy said, sounds like a case for Scooby-Doo to me.
Yep, he can have that case.
I wouldn't mind. Melon heads, they're
It's a candy.
No, it's not.
Oh no, it's lemon heads.
Melon heads were they had a story back in the day. It was a legend that these kids, I guess, they were deformities, and basically they pick. It's almost like a what's a story that would kids get picked on, then they come back in the after supernatural and get revenge, basically type thing.
Yeah, they were shunned by society.
Yeah, Andy. But yeah. So I mean, I believe I've talked about it before on one of my shows. The legend of the Melonheads. But they started out being actual people. They just had deformities, and people made fun of them and shunned them, like Eddie said, shunned them from society, and yeah. So, but the legend goes that people still see them around, and it's almost like that got that Children of the Corn vibe. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna show up somewhere and be like kicking your ass. So the person writing this says this case bears a striking resemblance to what the young boys encountered over 10 years ago in deep western Pennsylvania woods. The case involves a very violent haunting from a man who was being physically attacked. There was someone scratching him, pulling him across the floor, things being thrown across the room. But the strangest thing, and what made me pause, was the appearance of a disfigured humanoid in the man's house. Its appearance was very similar to what Steve and Randy had encountered all those years ago. The bulbous head, the disfigured body in tattered clothing. However, the thing did not just disappear into nothingness. It ran away. But someone other than the victim saw it trying to enter another woman's house. All of this might have been dismissed as a hallucination or a hoax if it was not for the respectability of the victim and the witness. Adding to the tale, the victim and the witness both do not wish to be in the spotlight. He does not seek fame nor glory, nor his 15 minutes of fame. He just wants it all to stop. He wants his terror to go away. Is it mere coincidence that these two phantom beings have the same physical appearance? Many would say it's demonic class of being or a creature akin of the old world of an elf or a gnome. A creature of the supernatural abilities to seem to be crude mockery. They're making a mockery of humanity. A specter out of folklore coming to haunt our modern day world. Which makes one think, what other creatures of native folklore that lurk in the 14 world might be truth or be more spiritual in nature than flesh and blood? Some of the same phenomenon that occurs during paranormal manifestations also occurs during encounters with cryptids and UFOs. Batteries drain, temperatures drop, electromagnetic fields fluctuate. He says, last year while visiting the same area where I encountered the giant bird in 2000, I once again saw either the same or similar creature. But this time I was prepared. With a digital camera in hand, I began to snap pictures of the large bird. He saw like a pterodactyl, and it was snapping pictures of a large bird as it was being attacked by smaller birds as it rose into the air a little more than 100 feet from me. But the camera froze. The batteries were dead, but they had just been purchased and placed in the device a few moments before I entered the area. By the time I switched out the old batteries, I did manage to snap a few pictures, but they were blurry and you could not make out anything of value. They were pretty darn pathetic. I only told a few people of this experience, mostly because of the bad evidence I had on hand. I only share it now as an example. Many who study various areas of the unexplained do not like to have their genre of study lumped with descriptive title of paranormal phenomena. But perhaps there is more commonality in all these encounters with the unexplained than we'd like to presume. Perhaps we, with our dim mortal vision of the mysteries that surround us, are true lurkers in twilight. So yeah, I mean, some cryptids, and people don't think about that. Hey, I'm Earther aliens. How you doing, hon?
Aliens. We didn't talk about aliens yet.
But think about it. I mean, some people that have, maybe that's why when they try to take pictures of cryptids, whether it be Bigfoot or whatever, that they're blurry. If there is something around them, do you know what I mean? Like electromagnetic field, because they are not of this world, or that's how they protect themselves. Some Bigfoot, some other creatures like Dogman and that have said to have where they can, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like telepathically make you, not telepathically, but make you stand still. What's the word I'm looking for? Paralyzed. That you're like paralyzed. So who's to say that it ain't gonna mess with the equipment itself?
Yeah, it could be like a veil, like a shield, a cloak.
Right. You know. And that's why they get the blurred pictures. Or, I mean, there's many times that I've taken a picture, I thought it was a great picture. I go back and look at it and I'm like, oh, what the hell did I take a picture of?
Or just for that split second, they can move at such a speed. That's all you get is a blur.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Heather, for the lemons. But I mean, yeah, it's just so it's understandable that not only that, my theory is when you see something unexplained, I don't care how
Bizarre.
long you've been in the field of whatever the study is that you have been in, when something like, whether it be a spirit popping up or a cryptid popping up, or
gotta give the boy
that's
points.
right, you gotta give them points, damn it, or a UFO in the sky. It doesn't matter how long you've been, you get excited. Your body gets like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? All right, honey, I love you.
Bye, bug.
I'll talk to you later. But you sit there and you're like, what is that, right? Especially if you're not really looking for it. So when you go to grab something to take a picture, to me, that's the last thing. I don't carry around my phone anyway.
Nope.
So, like, that's the last thing. I want to study it with my own eyes. I want to make out, like, what it is. Why am I seeing this? That type of thing. I'm not worried about evidence. I'm a researcher who wants to research and really look at it. You know what I mean? Not through a lens. Does that make sense?
It does, but it doesn't.
I know, because I could have proof afterward. Not proof, but just I could study afterwards. But it just, in that moment, I'm just like, I got to keep staring at it.
You can't right through the lens of a camera.
It's not the same. It's so not the same.
It so is.
So, I mean, or people get scared and they're just like, what the fuck is that shit? And go away. You know what I mean? Run away. Hell yeah. So another bizarre creature that we're going to talk about says, for weeks in April of 1971, residents of Mobile, Alabama, the suburbs of Port City and Plateau, had encounters with a strange and bizarre creature. And I believe we've talked about this before, but I'm not sure. But it's a pretty cool story. Yeah, exactly. Run, Forrest, run. Simon, I think some of them are. He said, I think cryptids are animals that slip between dimensions. I think some of them are. I think some of them have that capability. I don't think all of them are. I think it's just, hey, Spitfire. Um, I think some of them are just things that we've never seen before. Like I brought up before, the platypus was on the cryptids list for a long time because nobody believed the guy that saw it.
And then, boom.
Yes.
We
And
have
it's like,
platypuses.
yes. So, I mean,
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say how they're. I don't think they would go into kind of a shock. I think they would go into disbelief. Like,
yeah.
there's no way I could be seeing that.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to figure, your brain's trying to figure out what the hell am I seeing?
Did I smoke anything?
Yeah, exactly. Did somebody spike my drink? So,
And you say run, Forrest, run. Something's telling me you're not going to outrun them.
Oh no, I don't think you. That's why I believe that, like, everything that people have spotted, like, I believe it's here all the time. It's just lifting the veil to see it in some cases. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Right. The copy, yeah, aka Forest Draft was for centuries a cryptid until 1920 when it was seen in the Congo. Yeah, it's just, it's right there, it's the same thing. So, what happened back in April 1971?
I'm not quite a year old yet.
I wasn't born yet. So, we're going to be talking about the Wolf Woman of Davis Avenue. Since the dawn of civilization, legends of half human, half animal creatures have tantalized the curious and helped build mythologies. The werewolf is one of the popular ones. The more creature and familiar to us because it has roots in both European and American folklore. The European's tradition is more familiar with the strain of the legend concerning the transforming of a wolf/human. The transformed being was usually an evil man in league with the devil who would terrorize and feast on the flesh of the innocent population. In the Native American culture, the werewolf is associated with a skinwalker. The skinwalker can transform him or herself, into an animal for a period of time. Like in the European lore, this person uses evil or culturally offensive means to gain the ability to transform, and they cause chaos and violence in the community while transformed. That's right. Damn chaos.
That's right.
Then what? Who was the seventh son of the seventh son? That didn't they transform into werewolves?
Mm.
Anyway, the Wolf Woman of Davis Avenue was a classic wereperson. Its upper body was that of a human, and the lower limbs were that of a wolf. She made her appearance in the very beginning of April, when it began to roam the streets at night. One witness described it as a woman and a wolf, pretty yet hairy. After the initial report in the mobile registry, the newspaper received over 50 calls of encounters and sightings over the following week. Um, Newspaper clipping says citizens were chased by a creature, stalked, and saw roaming in their backyards. No one was hurt or assaulted, and the police took the investigation seriously for the sheer number of reported sightings.
Hi, Sophie.
Hey, Sophie.
Sophie says she can't stay, but she wanted to stop by and show love.
Aw, thank you so much, Sophie. We appreciate that. Um, But after a little more than 10 days, the creature disappeared and it never was seen again. So, what was it? Witness described it as having the upper body of a beautiful woman and back quarters of a wolf. It ran on all fours, as a wolf would, and most of the sightings took place at night by terrified witnesses. Perhaps it was a feral woman? It certainly would be not the first child to be supposedly raised by wolves and then mimic the traits of their adopted species. Take the Lobo Wolf Girl of Devil's Creek. According to feralchildren.com, in May of 1835, the Wolf Girl of Devil's River was born to Molly Dent, who had gone with her husband to Beaver Lake area to trap. Molly was having problems with the birth, so her husband John Dent rode to get help from a Mexican-run goat ranch in Pecos Canyon, but he was struck and killed by lightning before he could return, accompanied by the Mexican couple. By the time the Mexicans reached Molly, she had died, apparently in childbirth. Wolf tracks to the vicinity suggest that the newborn infant had been devoured by the Lobo wolves of the area. However, in 1845, a boy saw a girl in the company of a pack of Lobo wolves attacking a herd of goats. Less than a year later, a Mexican woman at San Felipe saw two large wolves and a girl devour a freshly killed goat. She observed the girl run off, first on all fours, then on two legs. So a hunt was mounted, and after 3 days, the Lobo girl at Devil's River was caught after fighting wildly to keep her freedom. She was taken to the ranch. Thank you, Nubs, for sharing out the video. She was taken to a ranch, really just a 2-room hovel, and locked in. Her howling attracted answering cries from wolves far and wide, and a large pack of wolves rushed to the corral. They attacked the goats, the cows, and the horses. Shooting started, and in the confusion, the girl managed to remove the board nailed over the window and make her escape. In 1852, a group of frontiersmen surveying a better route to El Paso saw a girl suckling 2 wolf cubs on a sandbar in the river, who ran off carrying the cubs. She would have been around 17, they said, in that year, but she was never seen again. So, was the creature sighted by Mobile, Alabama community merely a grown feral child who was mistaken for an animal because of its methods of walking on all fours and disheveled appearance? Or was it a skinwalker who manifested itself on those late spring nights so long ago? I mean, the community was in an uproar, and the community dared not venture out at night. Doors that were usually open to invite neighbors for um, welcome time of Southern Fellowship, were closed and locked. For a time in April of 71, the mobile community was gripped in fear. Which would be the desired outcome of a creature truly was a practitioner of witchery way. However, using the pelt of a wolf or coyote is a strict taboo for a skinwalker. Perhaps the original writers of the story got it right. The article pictured above the author calls the creature an apparition or phantom. Something truly terrifying manifested itself in Mobile 38 years ago. Well, now it's more, and then vanished into ethereal mist of time. And where does the wolf woman lurk now? So, I mean, I can understand. Hey, Nubs, thank you so much, hon.
What's up, Nubs?
Okay, Cassie. um, there have been feral children. But do you think this is the case with this? I don't think so, because of the fact that it had the hindquarters of a wolf. I mean, you're going to notice that. You know what I mean?
Well, especially the front top is just, skin.
Right. So, I mean,
Unless they're still carrying over from No Shave November.
maybe. But something had them terrified back then. Yeah. There's feral children, I mean, really, all over the place. There's lots of stories of feral children. You know,
You know.
but but I mean, maybe it's you never know. Maybe it's a cryptid. Probably one of those girls with extremely hairy legs.
Those. Never mind. I'm not gonna say it.
Yes, that's true. There are cases of people having the Wolf-Fishburne syndrome. They look like werewolves at times. Yes, but I don't think. I think nowadays people know about that. You know what I mean? So it's not. This woman was the body of a woman, at least the torso up, and the legs of a wolf.
I mean, that kind of be kind of interesting.
Right? I agree on that.
I mean, all you can do is sit there and rub your eyes and be like, "What the hell? What?"
Why am I seeing exactly? Because you're like fighting your brain. Like, why is my brain thinking that there are wolf legs on that? You know what I mean?
Or is that wolf sitting in front of her? Or...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Might be Andy's sister. But yeah, it's just you know,
You know.
you know.
Hey, Giggles.
Hey, Giggles, how are you, hon? So let's talk about objects. Now I know most of us here think that objects can hold supernatural powers, right? Or be the focus of paranormal activity. But do you think it's a protection of that? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there spirits like kind of like jinn? They usually you can bound a jinn or bind a jinn to a specific object, right?
Okay.
To make it a protection. So the jinn actually like come out of the ring or whatever and protect you. Okay. Do you think that's what happens with these artifacts that have paranormal activity? Like, is there a spirit trapped in them?
You talking about in the photograph itself?
Whatever the item may be. Kind of like you think of
So you're talking about like a haunted rock or a haunted tree? Or...
right.
Is it possible that there's a strong enough tie between the soul and that object that they feel secure being that? Their soul resting in that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. Do you think it's different with different things, or do you think that's all the same?
I think pretty much it's all the same.
Okay.
Unless you got, unless you dealt with somebody with black magic or something that
Right.
cursed you to a certain object.
Right. Nicole says, I have two objects with attachments, but those objects are my grandmother loved. Yeah, that's whether it be, you know, good apparitions or bad apparitions. I don't know.
Hurry back, Andy.
Hurry back, Andy. Nicole says, but some objects are known to lure souls. So I read. Okay.
That's where it sounds like almost like black magic comes in.
Right, right. Definitely like somebody cursing something and yeah. Okay. So anyway, our next story has to deal with that. Um, it says, I know many missionaries who are sure that they do, from fetishes to totems of the Aboriginal people. There are objects of power that seem to bleed paranormal phenomena. You don't have to tell that to Pastor Barry Porter of Australia. He knows firsthand. They thought it was a simple artifact of the local Aboriginal people, but the stone his father-in-law found in the ground and an old trail was much more than a simple stone. Here is the story in Barry's own words. I have known my wife since I was about 6 years old. She lived across the road from me at Bowen Mount, 50 miles from the heart of Sydney, Australia. The foothills of the famous Blue Mountains, a hot spot for the occult and all things paranormal.
I don't think my parents will let me get married at the age of 6.
While the area is now famous for ghosts of convicts who were driven to early graves under whips, chains, and hard labor in the early 1800s, and Black Panther sightings, it's also a strong, direct Aboriginal history. In the early 80s, there were additional trails and tree clearings cut through the dense bush for new housing and allow fire trucks and crews to prevent bushfires up there. My future father-in-law loved to bushwalk, which is hike to us, through the massive expanse of forest and national park. One morning, he walked through a nearly cleared area and he noticed a strange object poking out from the ground. It was made of a hard stone, yet looked like it had been cut by modern technology. So Mike dug it out with his bare hands. By the time he pulled it out, he realized he was holding something of human origin, but like nothing he had ever seen. It was just over a foot long, shaped like a teardrop, with perfectly beveled edges.
So that's most prison eye tattoos now,
There was a sense of guilt. He knew this was likely to be an Aboriginal artifact and either belonged to the location of its owners placed in the or it either belonged to the location of the owners placed in it or a museum. But he decided to take it home on Maple Street, making a wooden cradle for it and placing it above the mantelpiece on his fireplace. It wasn't long before strange things started to happen. The youngest daughter started seeing ancient Aboriginal people walking through the house at nighttime. She would get up to go to the bathroom and would have to wait for them to pass. Then there were illnesses, heart attacks, and strokes that struck previously healthy Mike in his early 30s. A Yowie, or Bigfoot, was sighted at the home by the home occupants and a young neighbor watching the house from across the road. At night, huge thumps and knocks on the outside of the house would send Mike running out with his rifle to find no visible culprit. One night, when the kids were watching TV, they were home alone waiting for their mother to return from the late shift at the local Chinese restaurant. The worst occurrences happened. So the television started changing channels all by itself.
Poltergeist.
As the kids watched in horror, the phone rang. They answered, but no one was there. As soon as they put the receiver down, it rang again. Still, no caller was on the other end. Over and over again, it happened.
Did they push the TV outside?
I don't know. Then, to the daughter's relief, a large light engulfed the side of the house. Her mother must be home, right? So she ran outside, up the dark stone steps in the back of the house, in the pitch black, following the light to the hill above the house. To her horror, when she got there, it remained pitch black. The light which had floated around the house suddenly had vanished, and leaving her standing in the freezing cold alone, with a feeling of impending dread. People who would sleep in the room with stone would have nightmares about Yowies and Aboriginal Kedjicha men, which are witch doctors. It wasn't until 2008 that the origin of the stone was revealed. A researcher identified it as a Turing stone. So in our terminology, a spiritual like memory stick for the Aboriginals that must never be removed from the ground in which it's placed. So an exorcism was done on the stone by the pastor, and its whereabouts is presently unknown. The eldest son in the family took it upon himself to put the stone in a safe place. So be careful about what artifacts you bring home. There may be unseen others who will manifest their presence until it's returned. No matter what you do in the world, the native people of old have fashioned such artifacts of power. It does not take an archaeologist to find them, but it takes the intercession of a trained spiritual warrior to rid your life of the presence you invite when you take these things home. So best to heed the words of Indiana Jones, and it belongs in a museum. So definitely cool. I would love. Thank you, Nicole, for the lemons. That's interesting. An Aboriginal memory stick. I wonder if I can pull that up or pull up a picture of one of them. It would be neat to see. Well, neat for me, I guess. Oh, okay. So it looks like a. Oh, what do you call the things that you throw and they come back to you?
Boomerang?
Yeah, it looks like a boomerang. Here, I'll show it. Uh, so this is what he got. Well, not the same thing, obviously, right? But this is what he saw. So this is an these are memory sticks.
That looks like a boomerang.
Yeah. But that's pretty freaking cool if you ask me. So yeah, that's the thing he found. It's like that anyway. Pretty cool.
Yeah, as long as you live long enough to talk about it.
Right? Sounds like those that dig up Indian burial grounds. Yeah, very true. Yeah, you don't want to mess with stuff like that. I mean, it's not, it's to me it's immoral to mess with something like that. Do you know what I mean? But obviously at that point in time he didn't know. He just was going on a trip. You know, we all like shit. My kids, like I said, they're rock hounds. They know their mom loves rocks. So when they find cool rocks, they bring them to me. Excuse me.
Wendigos are dangerous. I think that's good without saying.
Yeah. Anything like that can be dangerous. I mean, of course, Dogman, Wendigos, Skinwalkers, all that stuff. What makes it dangerous is there's because we cannot.
K-Dog
Hey,
says,
K Dog.
after 18 days of being in the hospital for getting a cancerous tumor that was too deep in and as big, or 2 inches deep and as big as my fist, or as big as your fist, removed. I get to go home today. Well, congratulations. God bless you.
Yes, God bless you, K Dog. Definitely. I'm glad you got to get home. I'm glad everything went all right.
Wish for a speedy recovery for you.
Definitely. Definitely. It's good to see you. tricksters can be dangerous. Anything can be that we don't know about can be dangerous. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you never know. Like I said, I have never I've been studying this. Like I said, I've been on my path since I was 16 years old. Um, Obviously after going down my path, paranormal and cryptozoology and UFOs came after that. It started out with paranormal, then cryptids and UFOs started after that because I'm like, oh, what's this? I've always been drawn to unexplained mysteries. Let's put it that way, right? So, but I've never had anything evil.
Eve.
Yeah, I know that's what I thought about. Evil. Um, Happened to me. Some not so nice things, yes, but nothing evil.
Okay, Doug, I understand that. Trust me. He says going bad for it is I don't have the money for medical supplies for at home, so I'm going to be making a video to try to get money for medical supplies for wound care. Just start a GoFundMe page.
Yeah, definitely. We'll share it out for you.
Absolutely, 100%. I know exactly what you're going through. I mean, over the past week, I've probably racked up about $55,000 to $60,000 in hospital and doctor bills.
But that's the thing, Andy. With archaeologists, I mean, they've studied this stuff. They've studied. It's kind of like somebody that goes into the religious aspects and have actually studied, you know, religious things. Where archaeologists, they know where they're like digging and what part of the. I mean, they don't know for sure, right? If they find something unique or whatnot, but they know the area, they know all that information, they've studied all that.
Right, but I think what Andy's getting at though is if we just stumble
Right,
across something like that, and
right,
we all look at this and we take it, we're thieves.
right.
But they can go in and take it, and hey, they get praised, and I get what Andy's saying.
Oh, I get it too, definitely.
Hey, Susan.
Hey, Susan, how you doing?
Susan, you're never late. You're on time every time you show up.
That's right. That's right. Um. Oh.
You got lost, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to catch. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to catch up on comments here. Um. When your house is built on top of quartz, you experience a lot of yeah, because it's collecting the energies, it's collecting those, kind of like a memory stick, you know. It's That's what it does.
Bastards.
I know. So, let's see, what else do I got here? We already talked about gremlins.
We'll agree to disagree on that one, Missy. These are the same people who, for decades and decades, knew there was no human life in the Americas prior to the Clovis people about 13 to 14,000 years ago.
Right. No, I get what you're saying, Andy. I totally get what you're saying.
Do you think they were just trying to cover that up, Andy, or they just didn't? They knew they were there, but now that they didn't have to dig as deep because everybody else did the digging.
Right. So sometimes there's, we have our dogmen, we have our wendigos, we have our skinwalkers, we have, different cryptids, Bigfoot. But once in a while, there is legends out there that come from like nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Or like even with what's the one I'm thinking of? Oh my god, I just blanked out. The Jersey Devil. That was a cryptid that's out there. You know what I mean? It's not. I mean, do you think they're more spiritual, or do you think they're cryptid? See, Dogman reminds me of like Anubis's army. I don't know why, but that's the feel I get when I read stories. I feel that um he it's a it's like under Anubis. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but then you have like the Goat Man
Um,
or the Bunny Man.
K-Dog's saying he's got to travel 112 miles to get home before he can set up a GoFundMe account. I think whatever device you're on right now, you should be able to do it from. It doesn't have to be from your home computer.
That's true.
If you got a phone, you can do it from your phone. It'll all link right back to your account.
That could be. That's a good way of looking at it, Candy. Sometimes wonder if cryptids of very strange animals are just ghosts of megafauna and they died way back in the past. That could be. Because they're saying a lot of like and we've discussed it here about like pterodactyls, right? Is that just a thing from the past that we're just it's looping? Do you know what I mean?
No, I mean, you stop and think of the largest condor in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a small version of a pterodactyl.
Right, right.
So
But I mean, but if somebody says, listen, there was a, well, I said that with a hearing, but
I'm just saying, but it's like the alligator. Okay, it's yes, it's evolved into what it is now.
right.
But like the condor, it evolved into what it is now from a pterodactyl. So, do we still have prehistoric animals that are among us? Absolutely. They didn't all die.
You think so? So you think that maybe people are seeing just different versions of pterodactyls?
Probably what they stories and pictures that they remember and see, and
Okay, what about like the Bunny Man or
the bunny man.
Harvey? Man, I'm telling you, Harvey's real. Do you remember that movie
Which one?
where I forgot who played in it, but Harvey was a nobody else could see it but him, but he helped him. But he was a big guy in a bunny suit, basically.
Sounds like Adam Sadler.
My thought on Mothman, I think he is a harbinger of bad news.
Yeah, I don't think he's dangerous. I think he brings warning.
Yeah. 65 million years ago, a chunk of rock changed the
It's
dinosaur
funny.
into chickens.
Giggle just asked the thought on Mothman just as we were answering it.
Oh. Well, no, I saw it in YouTube, my YouTube chat. That's why I answered it.
Okay, not a problem, K-Dog. Get a hold of Shadows and she'll share it out with me and we'll share it out.
Nicole says I have my own cryptid, the Ant-Man.
Hey, at least you didn't call him a candy man.
Right? So, strange for classification. Some reports of cryptids obviously defy categorization, right? These are usually the one-of-a-kind creatures, and we should be grateful that they are one-of-a-kind.
Well, Bigfoot it falls into that category. He's not categorized. They can't. They have nothing to categorize him to.
But right, I get what you're saying, but I mean in the cryptozoology world, Bigfoot is in the Bigfoot category. I mean, he has his own category. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but now you're being not prejudiced, but
That's what you want to say. I'm being prejudiced towards Bigfoot. Great. Now I'm gonna. Not only am I going to get the Men in Black after me.
Think about what you're saying, though. You're saying that there's some that can't be categorized.
Right.
Well, Bigfoot can't be categorized.
But many people see him.
So they say.
Right. But I'm talking about, like, the goat man in Maryland is one of these unclassifiable creatures.
I just think that's a guy with a big old white beard running around with a fucking set of horns on his head. I still wonder if Bigfoot is the last of the Neanderthals. They had a brain capacity even bigger than ours. And they absolutely did.
I actually just read a story about somebody running into cavemen.
What kind of truck was it, Giggle, that you were driving? She said, when I drove a truck, I had something pushing on my truck one night. And the only reason why I'm asking that, because if you were in motion, there's good. It depends on what kind of truck. It could have been a crosswind that made it feel like something pushed on it.
I've had those because you're like, what the fuck?
I'm just excited to go home. I get to see my beautiful best friend Sarah and her kids. And I said, well, I'm sure you are excited to go home.
Definitely.
Crazy, both times I wound up in the hospital, they're like, well, we want you to stay the night. I'm like, yeah, well, one hand shit in the other, see which one fills up first. Yeah, see, Giggles, that could have easily have been a crosswind that hit just right to make it feel like something pushed on it.
But I'm sure
I'm not taking it, I'm just saying.
Right.
Because I drove tractor trailer.
Oh, okay. I've stopped at a rest area trying to sleep.
And it's still, again, it could have been the same. Were you loaded or unloaded? See, I used to drive, so that's why I'm asking.
See, now I know of two goatmen when it comes to the goatmen's. One's a spirit, and one is a cryptid. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the cryptid version.
Right, go ahead. Well, she's debating or thinking.
No, she said I had a trailer full of cars.
Huh. Could one of the cars shifted, though? Yes, I know they're chained down. I know they're strapped down. I understand all that, but that doesn't mean one of them couldn't even slip just a little bit.
I don't know, but I mean, I'm sure she's understood what she's felt
I'm
too.
not taking it away from her.
No, I know you're not.
You know I'm a debunker.
I know. So, the goatman of Maryland is one of those unclassified creatures. Said to haunt Prince George's country in Maryland. This is one of the many local beasts that are found all over the world. The goatman appears to be a man covered in goat hair, or as some witnesses report, it has the upper body of a normal man and the lower body of a goat, bringing to mind the satyrs of Greek mythology. Of course, think of Pan, think of, it prowls. Of course, we've talked about the knot deer.
Yeah.
It prowls in the woods and backyards at night, hunting dogs, which is its favorite food. The goatman is supposed to be a scientist who worked at the local agriculture research center. He was working on some forbidden experiment when, in the best B-movie tradition, something went wrong.
Boy, did this shit go wrong.
And he transferred into a half-man, half-beast. This turned him into a madman, or a mad goat man, and he fled into the deep woods, living in a shack and only emerging to eat dogs and scare necking teenagers in Lover's Lane. Sometimes he beats on cars with axes, in a rare example of a cryptid using a tool. Sightings started in 1957, and he's supposed to have murdered several hikers in 1962. He continues his nighttime prowls to this day, his axe at the ready. This sounds similar to the fearsome Bunny Man sighting in 1970 or 71 in Washington, D.C. As the name implies, this looked like a human-sized bipedal bunny. You laugh? But you wouldn't laugh if he was using an axe to smash your car or cut down the supports of your house, as the Bunny Man was reported to have done. Of course, the Goat Man and Bunny Man could simply be psychotics, wearing silly costumes and running around with axes, but that's not any more reassuring than the possibility of some monster on the loose.
Hey, look at the clowns that used to run around town
terrorizing people. Yeah. We had that experience. Yeah, can you imagine? I mean, everybody was scared of the clowns, right? So imagine if it was just a different thing like a bunny man or a goat man. And there was a bird man too. And birdmen, have longer history than either the goat man or bunny man,
And they got longer beaks.
right? So on September 12th in 1880, a letter printed in the New York Times reported that many reputable people have had a human-like creature flying over Brooklyn, and they all agree it was a man engaged in flying towards New Jersey.
I gotta ask Pickles, were you at the rest stop? Were you on I-95 or I-70?
He was described as a man with bat wings and improved frog legs.
What?
Whatever that means. I don't know what that means.
So that's a frog that would never bump its ass when it jumped because it could just flap its wings and be okay.
Yeah, see? Willie Nelson would be proud. Not only was he flapping his wings, but he was moving his legs like frogs swimming through the water.
Okay, it makes a little bit more sense now.
One could dismiss that this is a letter of a crank published by an otherwise serious newspaper for fun, but the reports continued. In 1948, a birdman was spotted over Oregon, flapping its large silver wings. In 1953, he took flight over Houston, then again in 61 over West Virginia, and then again in 1966 over Greenville, Mississippi. Could this simply be several generations of mad scientists showing off their inventions? There have been many experiences using flapping wings, especially before the Wright brothers developed the first powered engines, or airplanes, I mean. But no one has proven strong enough to get themselves off the ground, let alone fly over high cities. Humans simply aren't made for winged flight. The United States isn't the only country that's home to some of these localized creatures either. In Cornwall, England, there's the Owlman, also known as the Owlman of Manon, because of his many appearances in the village of Manon in the 1970s. It's Mawnan. That's hard to say together. The creature first appeared in 1976 when it was sighted in three separate incidences, all by young or teenage girls at night. It appeared at night, was about 6 feet tall with large wings of silver gray feathers, legs that bent backwards like a bird's, and pinchers for feet, which one witness described as resembling a crab's claw.
Well, how the hell did this thing land?
I know, right? Other notable features were wide fanged mouth and glowing red eyes. The creature emitted a loud hissing sound that frightened the girls. There were no more sightings that year, and people dismissed it as overactive imaginations of schoolgirls staying out too late for their own good. But then in 1978, three French exchange students also saw the creature, and that same year, the Owlman was spotted by another local girl. It's interesting when a local monster is reported by someone new to the area, as they are less likely to have been the subject of unconscious suggestion by the area's folklore. Which I can understand that, right?
Right.
Um,
See, now, Giggle brought up a good point when you're talking about we had the actual ability to flap wings before the Wright brothers. Is that maybe where the flying suits came from? You know, the gliders.
Yeah, like that. Yeah,
I mean, because they came out a while ago.
right. I don't know.
Giggles has actually kind of got a point on that.
Right. So the next sighting was by a young couple in '89. Two more sightings came in 1995. One by an American student. Um, whatever it was, the fearsome owl man and its glowing red eyes have never been sighted again.
Do they get scared off?
Maybe. A bit more believable than the Owlman and his American cousin is another local creature, the Beast of Dean.
The Beast of Bean.
Dean.
Oh,
D.
Dean.
Yeah.
Wait, what the hell?
This is found in the forest. Oh, here we go. This is, I gotta get my throat right. This is found in the forest of Dean in Gloucestershire. I know, and he's gonna yell at me. It was first spotted several times in 1802 and was described by an unnatural, huge wild boar that let out an unearthly roar.
K-Dog says, when I was a kid living in Indiana, we lived right off the river. Rumors that there was an alligator man that would live in the river, and my dad supposedly saw it, and my grandpa supposedly saw it too.
I think that even gets creepier when it's somebody you know.
But it's confirmed by your grandpa and your dad?
Yeah.
But now, were they doing that to scare you, to keep you away from the river? Yeah, I'm not taking anything away that they didn't see it.
Right,
But
right.
that damn sure as a kid, you hear that story is going to keep you away from that goddamn river.
Not necessarily. If you're curious like I would have been.
Yeah, no, that's not being curious. That's just being downright stupid.
Well, that's how I was when I was younger.
Yeah, I know.
You tell me a story, I'm going to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not so much because I can't run as fast.
Imagine that. Goddamn lie, you fucking sea lion pop up. I see how fast you can run.
Well, that's true. That is true. So, again, the Beast of Dean is said it had immense tusks, which were used to knock down trees. It was seen for many decades, but the sightings eventually petered out. The Beast of Dean was forgotten to all except a few folklorists until 1998 when it reappeared. The two witnesses said it looked just like a boar, except that it was the size of a cow. That's a big-ass boar.
You ain't kidding. You better have a big-ass gun.
Right? It made another appearance on November 7th of 2005 and was reported to the local paper, The Citizen. The Beast of Dean sounds like simply like an oversized boar, except for the strange fact that there must have been at least two of them, one in the early 19th century and another 100 years later. Could something in the forest of Dean be making an occasional boar grow to immense size? We have seen that with the Appalachian Mountains are the home to many ABCs.
Hey, PPR.
Hey, PPR, how are you? But the Appalachians are also home to two fearsome variants of the wolf that are strange to be considered out-of-place animals. The Dueo looks like an oversized wolf that sometimes stands on its hind legs to a height of up to 9 feet.
No, that's pretty big.
It lets out a terrifying howl at night and has been seen by a number of people, including park rangers. It should be treated with caution, for it's said that to be the culprit of many dog and cattle mutilations in the area. Another canine critter is the snarly yow, which is a large black dog with a red mouth and huge fangs that have been seen since the colonial times.
The double hound.
Maybe. The creature may be more paranormal phenomenon than cryptid. It's reported to change color and size, and those who have shot at it said the bullets pass right through it.
Hellhound, not double hound.
Or demon dogs.
Yeah.
There are numerous reports of demon dogs from Europe, especially England, and the snarly yow may be simply be a local continuation of that folk legend, which I think we had a story about the snarly yow, didn't we? I think at one point. I don't know.
If we did, that was a while ago.
Again, another cryptid that seems to stick out to very localized areas is the Jersey Devil, which lurks in the pine barrens of the southern New Jersey. Why it should only be in such a small area is a mystery, since it's reported to have wings and could fly anywhere it wanted to. The Jersey Devil is first seen in 1909 when from between January 16th to the 23rd, there was a wave of sightings of the witness. said to have looked like a kangaroo with a goat's head,
Can I get a wit?
leathery bat wings, antlers like a stag, and cloven hooves. The monster had small arms with little clawed hands and forked tail. It could fly and was often aggressive, attacking livestock and even humans, and emitted a terrible, blood-curdling scream. And its eyes was said to glow bright red.
Andy wants to go to Jurassic Park. Would love to see the dire wolf, except they extinct now, seriously huge. Then you get the mega bison from the Ice Age. Short-faced bear makes a grizzly look small, and the giant sloth. I remember seeing pictures of the giant sloth, and that it still moves slow as hell, but it was huge.
Wasn't that one video that we shared? Wasn't that a dire wolf that was attacking that dog?
I think it was.
Andy, kangaroo with a goat's head. Sounds like an ex-girlfriend of mine.
Huh. She only looked like that dude when he was hallucinating.
So, a blood-curdling scream, of course, and red eyes are considered essential for any self-respecting monster, right? The reports were so widespread that schools closed and many adults stayed home, especially the mill workers of the Pine Barrens where the creature is said to dwell. The Philadelphia Zoo offered a $10,000 reward for the critter, but no one could produce one, despite several teams of armed men going out of the woods to search for it. One hopes no one got shot by accident, and it was nearly, I guess this person was nearly shot by a drunk hunter while hiking in Arizona, and he said, "I look nothing like the Jersey Devil." These hunts did produce several cloven tracks that might have been the beast. The prints not only looked strange, they did strange things. They often went right through fences without breaking them, as if the barriers weren't there.
Or could they, dematerialize as they're going through and rematerialize as they're coming out?
Right. And snow-covered rooftops all over the region show sign of the Jersey Devil's passing. While most of these tracks were found in rural areas, some appeared in the middle of Philadelphia as well. Devil hunters followed the tracks but never came upon the monsters.
I wouldn't doubt anything coming out of friggin' Philadelphia.
A stuffed Jersey Devil did show up on the circus sideshow circuit that year, but it turned out to be only a kangaroo with some fake wings glued to it.
Well, that sounds about right.
The small city of Camden became a center of the sightings. Police shot at it with no effect, and it attacked a trolley car and social club. The Jersey Devil appeared to have more bark than bite, however, because when local woman saw it attacking a dog, she swiped at it with her broom and it flapped away. Hey, Deity Paranormal in F Sharp. How are you? Welcome.
DPF.
There you go.
That's going to be it for me right there, DPF.
Reports of the Jersey Devil, of course, have died down after about a week, but never entirely went away. It's been seen regularly for the past 100 years. One account by Asbury Park Press quotes an unnamed man who saw the creature in 1981. He said the beast stood about 6 feet tall, had prominent teeth in a horse-like mouth, and fur all over its body. Strangely, he has said it had 3 toes on each foot, not cloven hooves, like most stories. If someone was going to make up a sighting, it stands to reason that they would stick to tradition. Jersey Devil drawings from 1909, some say that the beast had been around a lot longer since 1909. The original Native American residents of the area, the Lenape, called the region Popasing, which means place of the dragon. There's also legend that the Jersey Devil is the son of the 18th century witch. And of course, I'm sure you've heard about the Leeds the story goes on that Deborah Leeds gave birth to 12 normal children, and in the year 1735, anybody that's read about the Jersey Devil knows the story. So if I'm repeating something you've heard, I'm sorry.
I think they were pretty close, Giggles. I don't think it was the same drawing, but I think they were really close.
No. I know. Let me see. Let me bring up the Jersey Devil. At least the one I know.
All I think is the Dust Devil. That one we had out here 2 years ago was no joke.
Yeah.
Y'all know what with the tornadoes that started in dust, called dust devils. We had one start out at the back of our building one day, and we're sitting there watching it. It's pretty cool. It's only about 2 foot off the ground. The next thing you know, you look up, and this thing's as tall as the damn trees was.
Yeah, that was wild.
So it turned into almost a full-blown tornado made out of dust.
This is the first picture I ever seen of the Jersey Devil. Now, I've seen different...
It looks like I don't know what the hell that thing looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like it's got a camel or a donkey's head, a giraffe's neck, a horse body, chicken legs, and bat wings.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the first ever picture I've ever seen of the Jersey Devil.
And you got a time and date for that photo.
Why would he say?
I just told you. Jersey Devil, I have an alibi for the time. Oh. That's not, Andy's tried it. That's not me.
So, like I said, the story goes that Deborah Leeds gave birth to 12 normal children, and in the year 1735, she got pregnant for the 13th time. She admitted that the devil was the father.
Was that on the Friday the 13th?
Maybe. She gave birth one stormy night to what appeared to be a healthy, normal boy. Then, before everyone's eyes, the baby transformed into the Jersey Devil. Its first victim was the midwife. Once the monster had some food in its belly, it flew up the chimney and has been terrorizing the region ever since. Locals often call the Jersey Devil the Leeds Devil, and many of the 1909 newspaper reports did so as well. Folklorists believe that the story was only made up in the 20th century, and cryptozoologists who prone to dismiss paranormal explanations for the cryptids they study tend to agree. A question zoologists have to ask with these localized creatures, such as the Jersey Devil or Goatman, is why only one is ever seen?
Is one and the same?
If there are no breeding population, they could not survive for long. Could these creatures be some sort of wild mutation rather than an actual species?
Well, even a mutation, it makes it a species.
Right.
And he says, wasn't me. I was taking a calming walk in the woods that day. The fact I was dragging a shovel in one hand and a body by its foot has nothing to do with things.
So, could, the thing, what do we make of these wild tales of mysterious creatures? I mean, could thousands of eyewitnesses all around the world be mistaken?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes. Power of suggestion.
So could all the photographs and videos be faked?
Why not? If and here we can go back to paranormal.
Okay.
When certain groups, when we got this EVP, and before you even have a chance to hear what it says, they tell you what it says. So now automatically, that's what you hear.
Right.
So if one person tells a story to another person, that story is going to start catching on and catching on and catching on. And everybody's going to be like, oh, I seen it too. You get 10 people in a circle. By the time that story gets around, it's changed. So is this creature over all these eyewitnesses. So do I believe that it can happen that way? Absolutely.
Okay. All right. I mean, you gotta, of course, there are like few stray exotic animals escapes from zoos,
Not the freaking Jersey Devil.
So are all cryptids the creation of hoaxers and overactive imaginations?
Yes. It's like a subliminal message.
What if people walk in and not even, like what about the things that I saw like in the woods here, the little wood line?
I can't take away from what you've seen. If you believe what you've seen, you can start making people believe that too.
Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you didn't see it.
Okay.
What I'm saying is now you have thousands of eyewitnesses across all these countries and shit that have seen it.
Right.
Boom. Yeah, now you understand what I'm saying?
Right. They can't understand it, so it must have been this.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Hi,
Hey,
Tammy.
How you doing, hon? Okay, good way to look at it. So
That's my opinion.
That's so wrong, Andy. Pammy said she's been engulfed in cooking. What's Andy say? Glad you learned your place, Pammy.
Wow.
That's kick his ass, Pammy.
But yeah, like I said, though, that's just my opinion.
Right.
Can it possibly happen? Absolutely. It's subliminal messaging. It's power suggestion, and it's just like I said. You take a group of 10 people, put them in a circle, whisper in one's ear, and watch how it changes as it gets back around to you. And
right.
That's all
right,
it
yeah,
takes.
The telephone game, definitely. Okay, so maybe it'll take one more visual in Loch Ness or one more nighttime hike through the woods in the Pine Barrens, and we'll finally prove the existence of previously undocumented species. Or perhaps not. Perhaps none of these creatures will ever be discovered. After all, none have, right? And maybe it's perhaps better that way. As a species, we seem to need our monsters. Seem to thrive on the mystery, right?
You said you couldn't have said it no better. We thrive on the mystery.
Right. The modern world has not made monsters disappear. People still see the Jersey Devil and they still see Nessie. Plenty of people still believe in Bigfoot, although the Bunny Man was thankfully falling out of obscurity. I'm telling you, I want to see Harvey.
Like Andy just said, like those videos of, say, Bigfoot, you're told at the start what they think it is, rather than saying, watch this. They pre-program you with an answer to the thing before you even watch it.
Right. But I don't think people mean to do that in the way. When you guys say that, it sounds like they're trying to hoax. I don't think they are. I think they're just like, this is what you know what I mean?
But that's where the power of suggestion comes in.
Right. I get it.
I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose. They don't realize what they're doing. But when somebody says, oh man, I think we got Bigfoot here on camera. You guys, wait. So now you're watching and you're like, oh shit, what is that?
Right.
Where it could have been absolutely nothing but a tree in a bush blowing in the wind.
Right.
Okay.
Well, the most important lesson we can take from cryptozoology, though, is that not the world is filled with strange beings, but that we are the strangest being of all.
This is true.
So, I mean, and we got one more story we'll do since it's 11:38. It says, hi, my name is Roger, and I grew up in upstate New York.
She said, hi, my name is Roger?
No, he said hi.
I could have swore you said she.
I said it's...
Okay.
I grew up in upstate New York, in a town known as Seneca Falls. I was 10 years old during the event, which occurred in the winter of 2006. Ever since it happened, I found it challenging to discuss with anyone, including my family, who experienced it as well. Sometimes I'll randomly start laughing due to how comfortable the whole thing makes me feel. When you start laughing at something that you remember that terrified you, you know it fucked with your head. Do you know what I mean? You ever do that, or is it just certain people? Like when I'm scared, when I get nervous, I start like telling jokes.
That's a natural defensive mechanism, though, because it doesn't want you. You don't want to get terrified.
Right? Yeah, it's like yeah. So there's something it's something that I've always done when I'm overly nervous. It all started during a
I fart.
You fart when you're nervous?
When I get overly nervous, hell yeah, I fart. I'm throwing out that gas bubble. I'm gonna get away from me.
But it depends who I'm around. Like if I'm around my kids and I'm scared of something,
you hide it well.
Yeah, I do. I do. That's like I will. Yeah.
I wish I could, Andy.
So it all started during a power outage that happened while I was on winter break. My younger brother Jed, who had been 7 years old, was playing video games beside me when it happened. I can't remember which video game we were playing, but I remember getting very upset because the outage lost my progress.
See, right then and there, you should have been able to remember what game you were playing.
The electricity went out, and every once in a while, but almost always returned in a minute or two. Brownouts like we have here. Soon my mom entered the room, handed us our sweatshirts, and wrapped a blanket around each of our shoulders. She was always so on top of things like that when we were kids. I guarantee the first thing that went through her head was that she couldn't allow her children to freeze to death. You know how moms are. We don't think of that stuff, but moms will. I distinctly remember my dad talking on the phone with the electricity company, insisting that our power was out. It sounded like they were arguing, otherwise stating that our area was fully up and running. But after my dad went out to check the circuit breaker, I could tell that he was getting increasingly more irritated. He demanded that they send someone over so he could prove to them that something was wrong. The three of us huddled together on the family room couch while my dad fetched some candles from the kitchen. Hey guys.
Hey Patricia.
Hey Patricia, how are you? Welcome. So he said, "Hey guys, do me a favor and stay in here until we get this all sorted out." My dad said as he re-entered the room. "I don't want you tripping near the steps." "They've been here the whole time," my mom said. My dad appeared confused. He looked like he was about to argue otherwise, but then quickly concluded he must have imagined whatever he thought he saw or heard. Soon, Chad went to use the closest bathroom, and it was when he opened the door that he started screaming. I had never heard him make a noise like that before. I couldn't tell if he was injured, terrified, or both. Both my parents jumped up and ran out of the room. "Honey, what's the matter?" I could hear my mom say from the end of the hallway. "Someone's in here," Chad said. "They went into your room." "Hello?" my dad called out for a moment. I think he might have wandered. I think he might have was wondering if the maintenance worker arrived, though that would have been strange for him to enter the house unannounced. "Hello?" Dad called out again, but there was no answer. Soon, Mom escorted Chad back to the family room and sat him on the couch. It seemed that Dad had continued investigating just to be extra cautious. "Sometimes the shadows caused by candlelight can play tricks on us," Mom playfully said to Chad while she rubbed his back. "It wasn't a shadow. It was a strange man, and he wasn't wearing any clothes. He leaped in the bathroom right after I opened the door." Mom didn't respond right away, and I could tell that by the look on her face that she thought it was incredibly odd for a child to imagine. Someone that's naked. You know what I mean?
So did Mom and Dad have their own entrance into the bathroom? Because in the beginning you said that thing ran into the parents' room. Now he's saying that he's seen it in the bathroom naked.
Right. When he opened up the door, he saw it in the bathroom, but it came out and went into their room.
Okay, all right. I'm just clarifying.
Right, no problem. So she was a little creeped out and at a loss for words. She was about to say something when suddenly we heard the door open. Initially, we all assumed that Dad had gone outside to greet the arriving maintenance worker, but after a few minutes with a cold draft circulating the family room, Mom got up to see what's going on. Stay here, she said to both of us as she repositioned the blanket around her torso. Rick? Then we heard my mom call out from the doorway again. Rick? Apparently that's her dad's name. A few moments later, the door closed, and my brother and I expected to see my mom re-enter the family room with an update of what was going on. But there was none, other than silence. Chad kept looking over his shoulder, apparently worried that nude stranger was going to reappear. But very abruptly, Chad started screaming again and threw his blanket over his head to cover his eyes. I spun my head around in the direction that he was looking and saw a gangly gray arm slowly withdraw underneath our antique piano. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was stunned. We had lived in the same house since I was 3 years old, and as far as I know, none of us have ever encountered anything remotely paranormal. It was just like one of those scenes in a scary movie when you get to see a brief glimpse of a menacing entity. Even though it was dark and my view from the couch was obstructed, I was able to see silver of the thing's chin, or a sliver of the thing's chin. I wanted to get out of there so badly, but I was afraid to run. And I think part of that was because I didn't want to leave my brother behind.
Yeah.
Chad's like,
said, "Fuck that little prick."
Chad's like reading this later, going, "Thanks, bro." You know.
Tammy, we're not going to get into Bobby and Bruce right now.
Oh, Nicole.
No, Andy started it.
Oh, did he start it?
Yes. Bobby and Bruce was one hell of a messed up story.
Yeah, I know, Andy. Maybe one day I'll have to do that.
Yeah, do that story again.
This entity's presence felt so overwhelmingly dark, which made what happens next all more perplexing. Soon, Chad removed part of the blanket from his face and started giggling. Then there was something about his energy that made me do the same thing. It was like suddenly everything became playful and humorous, like there was nothing to feel threatened by. Even when I felt the gangly hand contact my shoulder, I didn't flinch. Minutes later, the entity slid its face in front of me, only feet away from the tip of my nose. I remember wondering how in the heck his neck could be so thin. But that thought didn't disturb me, it merely intrigued me. Still giggling and feeling strangely very comfortable, I watched as the entity hobbled over to Chad. This is just my interpretation, but it looked like through the naked being was inspecting my brother's eyes, like it was very curious about his facial features. This routine lasted for what felt like a significant amount of time. Occasionally, a millisecond would go by where it felt so terrified that I was on the verge of jumping out of my skin, but then those previous joy feelings quickly regained control. Eventually, the entity scampered out of the family room, though I didn't turn around in time to see which direction it went once it entered the hallway. It wasn't long before the feelings of fright returned to full force for me and my brother. Without saying a word, we jumped up from the couch and ran towards the front door, shouting for our parents. Regardless of the cold winter night, we dashed outside in our socks, running along the shoveled walkway. I vividly remember pondering why all of our neighbors' electricity appeared to be functioning, but of course I was more concerned with making sure the gangly entity wasn't following or nowhere near us. Our parents were nowhere in sight, and they weren't responding to our calls. Eventually, we made our way to the backyard and found my mom still wrapped in a blanket, staring into the woods. "Mom! Mom!" we shouted from the back patio. It was so strange how she wasn't turning around to acknowledge us. She continued to stand there entirely still, as though she was waiting for someone. "Where's Dad?" I called. Bless you.
Thank you.
But she still wouldn't answer. I was about to step barefoot off into the snow just as the doorbell rang. I knew that had to be the maintenance worker, so I grabbed my brother's hand and ran him back inside into the front of the house. Hey there, your parents around? The electrician said.
Oh,
Bless you.
thank you.
I could tell that he thought it was rather strange that we were outside without shoes in the winter. I was slow to respond, as though I felt I had just been under hypnosis or something, some sort of mind control. It was too.
Coming from the one that walked out on the ice, in dad's slippers and come back barefooted.
What? Hey, when you're 3 or 4, you do what you gotta do. When I wanted to go see the ice fisherman.
Thank you, Nicole.
It was too challenging to get necessary words out, so I merely pointed towards the backyard. Chad was also silent, presumably experiencing similar after effects of being in the presence of that weird entity, because the man seemed to be the most lucid of everyone in the house. My brother and I decided to trail closely behind him. While we walked around the side of the house, the electrician nearly bumped into both my parents. Oh, hey there, my dad said. Surprisingly, aside from feeling cold, my parents seemed as casual as ever. Of course, I was confused by this. Where the hell had Dad just been? And why had Mom been ignoring us while I called her out in the backyard? What are you guys doing out here in your socks? Mom said. Let's get you two inside. It was while all 5 of us were entering the house that we noticed the lights were on. Oh, I see you already fixed it, my dad said. What was the issue? Guy said, I haven't touched a thing. My parents glanced at each other, silently concluding that it must have been none other than a temporary glitch. I have no recollection of whether my dad still had to pay the electrician for coming out, but they sent him on his way. Strangely enough, neither of my parents had any memory of being outside for an extended period of time. But my brother remembers things exactly as I did. It seemed that we occasionally talked about it our entire lives. Immediately after the incident, we spent a large time begging our parents to move out of the house. But they wouldn't budge, off of stating that we had some wild imagination, two of us.
Yeah, we threw a hell of a party, Dad.
Yeah.
You guys did some serious shit. You can't remember anything.
Yeah. And the way my mom remembers it is that she stepped outside for 2 seconds to notify my dad that the electrician had just pulled up. My dad claims he stepped outside only to step into the street and check to see if our neighbor's lights appeared to be out. If my brother hadn't been there to reinforce my recount, I probably would have thought I had momentarily lost my mind, which would have been scary as hell. What do you think of my brother and I encounter? To me, what it sounds like, now this person said it sounds like a rake, but to me, that sounds like fairy magic. Like, you know what I mean?
It was almost like they were frozen in time.
Right.
The parents were.
Yeah.
But the kids were able to move.
Right. Yeah, to me, it sounds like fairy or fae. You know, because I guess the most why I think that is because they had that joyous feeling. Do you know what I mean?
Even though they knew shit was fucked up.
Yeah.
This is fun. My parents are stuck out in the snow.
It could have been an elemental. But see, to me, well, in my world, let me say, elementals usually don't fuck with us. You know
Not
what I
unless
mean?
you piss them off.
Yeah. Elementals to me, they do their job to protect the world, and that's their job. They don't give two shits about us unless you are messing with the world. Yes, you can call on them to help, but they're new. I guess that's a good word that I can. They're neutral. That could be CIA putting LSD in the drinking water again. But yeah, that to me, I mean, it could be a rake. This guy says, after doing a good amount of research through the years, I believe, oh, he was doing research. The kid that had this experience, uh, known as a rake. Um, Coincidentally, there are more reports on the creature from New York than anywhere else. But it's Seneca Falls. That's not too far from where we were.
Nope.
That's like right down the road.
About half hour.
That's why, like I say, I'm Seneca Indian. Seneca Falls. That's yeah. The Seneca Falls is like down near Pembroke.
About a half hour, 45 minutes from where we were.
Yeah, that could be Giggles. She said they could have been mad that something was not right in the yard. That's true. Thank you for the ice cream, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole.
So yeah, pretty interesting though. And he's got all the questions of he said, my mom had no recollection whatsoever that she was staring into the woods, seemingly ignoring her children. And who knows where my dad was during this entire time. But beyond all of that, what were the entity's intentions? Where did it come from? Why did it choose to visit our household? The questions you ask afterwards.
You were the closest ones.
Could be, definitely. And he says for a long time after that, Chad and I struggled to fall asleep at night, which could be understandable.
Andy, to be honest, people got to understand when we talk about coming from New York, we're 1,000 miles away from New York City. We are completely on the other side of New York. So whatever they found over there, who the hell knows?
Yeah. Yeah, Seneca Falls is beautiful. And New York City, that's not Seneca. That's Iroquois. No, Iroquois. I believe. I'm trying to, in my mind, I'm thinking of a map of what Native Americans around there.
Could have been two pickles and elemental fucking finally got mad. Maybe they were chopping down wood for a fire and not asking for permission.
Yeah. But I couldn't imagine going through something like that. But to me, like I said, to me, the story felt like it was Fae. Just the way they felt. And being in that's the word I was looking for before, trance.
Hypnotized.
Yeah. Just, like how his mom was just standing there staring at the woods. So.
Hypnotized, trance, same thing. If you're being hypnotized and they ain't talking to you, you're standing there in a trance.
Right. Kind of like, and that's kind of like, when I think of trances, I feel like, because I've been in sugar shock before, and that's what it reminds me of. Like when I was in sugar shock, my friend was telling me, "Hey, miss, sit down. What's wrong?" Asking the questions. I could comprehend what she was saying. I just couldn't move my body. You know what I mean?
To say anything back.
Yeah. I don't even know if my eyes were moving to like correspond with her questions. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? But very cool, Giggles. Very cool. She's Native American too.
Yeah, I see that.
But yeah, so I mean, when I think of people being in a trance or something like that, that's what I think of. My problem was that I just had too many Alabama Slammers, and I'm allergic to number 9 dye. So.
Well, we have 13 of them.
What?
Let me have 13 of them.
Yeah, let me have 13 of them. Because that's what I do.
I don't feel anything until I stand up. Yeah.
No, that was Long Island iced teas. They were pretty damn good going down.
No one told me it was made with 7 different liquors.
I was fine until I stood up. The bartender told me, listen, I don't serve body bags with these drinks.
I'm gonna tell you, the worst thing in the world to do is you be drinking in a warm bar, go outside where it's cold to have a cigarette, and then walk back into a warm bar. What the fuck? Do not do that.
Yes, and that's what the other thing was too, Giggles. She said,
I gotta go bottom.
Okay. She said fays are very curious of humans. So yeah, the way he was staring at his face and everything like that, that reminds me of that. Well, I believe fays can grow. They can, like Tinkerbell. You know, they can be. All right, Tammy. Thank you so much, hon, for coming in and supporting and everything. I love you. I'm so glad to see you. Take care, hon. Have a great rest of your day. But yeah, I believe Faye can, be a small, tiny fairy and then be human size. But the way it was checking out his eyes and his facial features. Yeah, that's another thing that made me think it was Faye. Definitely. All right, guys. I added 200 lemons over on the chest on dlive. What? I'll wait till you come back to end the show. He's yelling at me from the bathroom. God. So get over there and chat up the hype, as Freaky would say. I hope you guys enjoyed these stories today. Yeah, I had fun telling them. I read them and I was just like, these are good. I like these. Feel better?
Yes. I feel lighter too.
Do you know?
Yes.
All right, guy, you go ahead and.
Ladies, hugs. Gentlemen, fist bumps. Stay safe. Stay strong. Get to see you guys again tomorrow. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, guys, I have clicked the button. You got 20 seconds to hit on the chest. If it doesn't pop up to it, make sure you hit the chest and it should pop up. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed them. I love finding stories that I don't know. I love the mystery of them. I don't tell them as good as other people do, but
they reflect on the your feelings of what you feel about the story.
Yeah.
You paint your own picture as you tell it.
Right. Yeah. So Nicole got them all with 203.5.
What the hell, Nicole?
Nicole stole them all.
Well, Nicole's been over in dlive the whole time.
Yeah, she has. So hasn't Giggles.
Has Giggles been in dlive? Why didn't Giggles get any of that?
I don't know. Thank you so much for the lemon. Oh, and the ice cream. Thank you, Giggles.
Nicole, you stay out of dlive tomorrow.
So, yes, tomorrow is Freaky News Friday. We got some great stories for the week.
See, Giggles was on YouTube.
Oh, were you on YouTube? Oh, okay. My bad then. That's my fault. I did not know. But yeah, so tomorrow's Freaky News Fridays. We got some good. Did anybody get abducted? Remember, yesterday was supposed to be the. I thought you were flipping me off there for a minute.
I was fucking scratching my forehead.
I thought you were the way I was looking. Did anybody get abducted? Who's missing? There's a bunch of people that was missing today's show.
Are we sure? Are we even here?
Oh, are we here? I don't know. The alien invasion was supposed to happen yesterday.
See, that was it, Giggles. Nicole was in dlive the whole time.
Okay,
K-Dog, be safe, buddy.
Yeah, be safe. Love you, hon. And I hope you feel better, and we'll talk soon, definitely.
Damn, that's going to be a hell of a taxi bill. You got to go 112 miles.
Yeah, really.
Holy shit, I don't want to pay that bill.
All right, guys. With that being said, we will see you tomorrow. Take care. Be safe. And, of course, find something today that makes you smile with your eyes. We love you guys. Mwah.
Mwah.